everyone. Today we are going to learn about the humerus. The humerus is the bone of the arm. It is the longest bone of the upper limb and it articulates with the glenoid cavity of the scapula to form the shoulder joint. Humerus. This is the humerus. Now look at its features. It has an upper end and a lower end and the shaft. Now let's learn about the upper end. The head of the humerus is directed backwards, upwards and medially, that is towards the body. It articulates with the glenoid cavity of the scapula to form the shoulder joint. The head forms about 1/3 of the sphere and is much larger than glenoid cavity. The line separating the head from the rest of the upper end is called the anatomical neck. This is the anatomical neck. The lesser tubercle is an elevation on the anterior aspect of the upper end. This is a lesser tubercle. The greater tubercle is an elevation that forms the lateral end of the upper end. Its posterior aspect is marked by 3 impressions: the upper, middle and the lower. The intertubercle sulcus or the liccipital gyrus separates the lesser tubercle from the greater tubercle. The sulcus has medial and the lateral lips that represents the downward prolongation of the lesser tubercle, and the greater tubercle, the narrow line separating the upper end from the shaft, is called the surgical neck. This is the surgical neck, while this is the anatomical neck. Now let's learn about the shaft. This is the shaft. This is rounded in the upper half and triangular in the lower half. It has 3 borders and 3 surfaces. This is the anterior border, this is the medial border and this is the lateral border. There are 3 surfaces: the antrum, medial surface, the anterolateral surface and the posterior surface. Now let's learn about the borders. The upper 1/3 of the anterior border forms the intertubercular sulcus. The middle 1/3 forms the anterior margin of the deltoid tuberosity. The lower half of the anterior border is smooth and rounded. The lateral border is predominant only at the lower end, where it forms the lateral supracondyle ridge. In the upper part, it is barely visible. In the middle part, it is interrupted by the radial on the spear groove. Let's learn about the lower end of the humerus. The lower end forms the condyle, which is expanded from side to side and has articular and non-articular parts. The articular parts include the capitellum and the trochlear. The capitellum is a rounded projection that articulates with the head of the radius. The trochlear is a pulley-shaped surface. It articulates with the trochlear notch of the ulna. The medial edge of the ulna projects 66 mm more down than the lateral edge. This results in the formation of carrying angle. The non-articular parts include the medial epicondyle, the lateral epicondyle, the medial supracondyle ridge, the lateral supracondyle ridge, the coronoid fossa, the radial fossa, and the olecranon fossa. The medial epicondyle is a bony projection seen on the medial side of the lower end. It is a subcutaneous, means it can be easily felt below the skin. The lateral epicondyle is smaller than the medial epicondyle. Its anterolateral part has a muscular impression. The sharp lateral margin just above the lateral epicondyle is called the lateral supracondyle ridge. The sharp medial margin just above the medial epicondyle is called the medial supracondyle ridge. The coronoid fossa is a depression seen just above the anterior aspect of the trochlear is accommodated. The coronoid fossa of the ulna when the elbow is flexed. The radial fossa is the depression seen just above the capital on its anterior aspect. It accommodates the head of the radius when the elbow is flexed. The olecranon fossa is seen on the posterior aspect just about the trochlear accommodates the olecranon process of the ulna when the elbow is extended. Side determination. Now how do we determine the side of this humerus? There are basically 3 points. The upper end is round to form the head. The lower end is expanded from side to side. The head is directed medially, that is towards the body, upwards and backwards. A large fossa is seen in the lower end that faces posteriorly, and this fossa is called the olecranon fossa. Therefore, we come to the conclusion that the humerus is of the right side. Thank you. That was all about humerus.
Thank you.